Hey everybody, welcome back to Duty of Dad. I'm your host, Danny. On today's video, just going to cut right into it. Today's video is going to be about disciplining without fear and how to set healthy boundaries with love. So some of us may have been raised in a home that had like really strict set of rules, right? I was raised that way. I was raised in a home where my mom was very religious based. She is a devout Pentecostal apostolic. Have nothing against her religious views or anything else like that. I'm a Christian myself, but very strict, meaning like I never see my mom wear jewelry other than her wedding band. I never ever see my mom wear makeup. I've never seen her cut her hair. I've seen pictures of her before she became a Pentecostal apostolic, and you know, she cut her hair, dyed her hair, wore makeup, jewelry. I mean, the whole 9 yards. I don't even think my mom has a tattoo, which is crazy because I'm obviously covered in tattoos. But here's the, so she was very strict. I mean, I didn't have a TV growing up until I was in my teenager years. And even then with that, when she would go to work, when she worked at nights and she was a nursing assistant, she had my stepdad like cut the cable and install a female end on the TV and then have a male to male end. So basically you got to plug it in and then plug it into the wall in order to watch TV. And we didn't have cable. We didn't have DVR. We didn't have none of that other stuff back in the early 2000s, like late 1990s, early 2000 era. I don't think we got our first TV until like 2004 or 2005, 2004, right? I graduated in 2007. So I remember like we could only watch videos like DVDs or VHSs that my mom would pre-approve when we go to the library. The public library, you could go check them out, have them for a couple of days, return them, right? And we ended up getting a VCR and a DVD. And I remember growing up on shows, not even shows like DVDs and VHSs, like VeggieTales, Adventures in Odyssey, great cartoons, great things. I'm not complaining about how I was raised, but I was raised really strict. Other people have been raised in homes where they're not strict. They're very free for all. Like the parents are like, hey, do whatever you want. Just don't do nothing too crazy. You know, no rules, no boundaries, no restrictions, right? So those are the two polar opposites. You have one home, very restrictive, very controlling, very micromanaging. I mean, always breathing down your neck. And they're really pushing you to achieve their own agendas, what they want you to do. Then the other one is do whatever you want. There's no boundaries, no guidance, there's no rules, there's no regulations, no structure, right? So disciplining without fear, it doesn't mean that your kids need to be scared of you. Disciplining without fear means that you want your kids to listen to you and respect you because they love you, because you set a good example to them and they know that you have their best interests at heart, which is why those boundaries, those rules or restrictions, those structure is there. You know, and going through the things that I've been through, the classes I've been through have taught me so much, and it's very applicable because I have everywhere from teenagers all the way down to now a month-old, you know, baby that I'm able, and everything in between, toddler and, you know, kid, boys, you know, all different types of ages. So for me, I'm in the thick of it. Especially having teenager daughters, I'm like, oh my God, like this world is so freaking crazy. And it's not something you really want to think about as a dad, right? So for me, it's like having that balance, not being too much, not being like my mom and how I was raised, which is very restrictive, very controlling, but having empathy and understanding. And with the discipline, there has to be discipline. Discipline is guidance. It's basically your way of guiding your kids. And you need to guide them with love. And the best way I do that is basically with the structure of one, communicate what the consequences are beforehand. Whenever I'm going through something, I always tell the kids this. I always say, hey, listen, if you don't complete your chores, then you're not going to get TV time. If you don't complete your homework, then you're not going to get screen time. Or if don't ask for extra, TV time at the end of the day. They go to bed at 8:30, right? Try to give them 30 minutes. We do prayer devotions before bed and then let them, rest, get plenty of rest. I've done a lot of good research on blue light, and it's not good for your kids. It doesn't help them get good sleep. So I've really implemented all that. But I've also given my heart out to the kids and said, hey, you know what? When there is something and they've broken a rule, for example, I have a son and he didn't complete his homework and he was over there watching TV, and I come down and walking through the living room and say, hey, you guys' chores are done? Yeah. Okay, how about your homework? Well, one kid's chores are done or homework's done, the other one's not. Well, I was working on it, but I kind of need your help. Okay, well, if you needed my help with your homework, then why are you sitting here watching TV? First and foremost, never get angry and let your anger be the catalyst. Don't let it be the vehicle that drives to your reaction. If you're having that reaction or you're feeling that anger and you're automatically getting upset, boom, timeout, huge timeout. Take a step back and say, hey, take a breath and just say, hey, is what I'm about to say going to be constructive or is it going to be destructive? Hey, what am I about to say? Would I want somebody to talk to me like that or treat me like that? Or what am I about to say is going to help, structure them and help them grow? I know it's really hard sometimes, especially if you're beginning out and say you're a new dad or you're a dad and you're hitting your head along the wall, but you desire this change. You desire this thing that you want your kids to love. You can't force your kids to love you. You got to show them how to love by loving them the proper way. And that's what that structure, that's what the discipline without fear. Hey, I'm going to punish you. I'm telling you that I'm going through a situation right now with one of my sons, and he's my stepson. Okay, so I'm talking to you from my heart of hearts. Like, I don't like the theory, the title, the whole thing of step, because steps are for walking on, right? So I don't like calling step kids. I don't introduce these kids as, oh, these are my step kids. I don't introduce myself. I'm your stepdad. Steps are for walking on, okay? I'm their dad. I might not be their biological father and however you want to specifically title it, but I am the dad. A dad is a provider. A dad is a guider. A dad is a mentor. A dad is the one who spends time with his kids and say, hey, let me show you how to do life because I've lived life and I'm going to be here with you through every step of the way. Not a perfect dad. You're not a perfect dad. But what we are striving to be is better dads. And that's why you're here. That's why you're talking. That's why you're listening to this channel right now. That's why you're following this channel. That's why you're putting your comment in the below. That's why you're subscribing. That's why I appreciate you guys. But coming back through for you, we're here to learn and grow off of each other. And at the end of the day, our kids, the very first episode I did was just spending time with your kids. This one's more about your structures and how to set boundaries with love, and having those things within your fatherly duties and your dad duty. Your duty of dad is to sit there and say, listen, this is how it needs to be. And you have that structure. You stick to that structure. If the bedtime is 8:30 and the TVs go off at 8 o'clock, then that's what you stick to. The screen time is done at 7:30. Screen time is done at 7:30. Don't make exceptions or, oh, you know what, I'm tired, so I'm not going to. You stick to it because our kids need that structure. My kids come home from school and they appreciate that structure. When I talk to them about, my one son, Eli, he goes over to his dad's house, his real dad's house, and his dad disciplines and controls him through fear. And he is so terrified of his dad that he comes back and he tells us all these things. And I'm just sitting there like, man, this sucks. There's absolutely nothing I can do about it except for just continue to pray, give it to God, and just say, hey, you know what? As things come along, things will change. And I give him guidance. I talk to him, I mentor him, I guide him, but he's so scared. And I said, dude, that's not the way to be, because I was the same way. I was raised by my mom and I was terrified of her until I got to the point where I wasn't scared of her anymore. She used to threaten me all the time when I was a little kid, a little child, a little boy, and say, if you don't start listening, if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm going to take you to your biological dad's house. I'm going to take you to your real dad's house. Granted, this time, like, she's already been through a couple marriages, had a couple stepdads, and, the stepdad that I ended up with, he's a wonderful man. He taught me so many things. I really appreciate him. He is my dad. But let's not get too far off path here. she controlled me through fear until she couldn't control me through fear anymore. And with that, I said, you know what? I'm not scared of you. I was hitting my teenager years, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. And finally, she said, your dad's this, your real dad's, he's a rapist, he's a drunkard, he's a drug abuser, he's a violent person, he's this, he's that. You're going to be just like him. It's these things that she would pollute me with as a little boy, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And I'm like, finally, I got to the point where I'm not scared of you no more. All of that stuff, that control that she tried to do to me, that fear that she tried to put on me and control what I was trying to do, turned into anger that empowered me to be more rebellious, to be more hard-headed, to be more strong-willed, because you're not going to control me through that. So I would go down these things, and she finally got to the point when I was 15 years old and said, you know what, pack up your stuff, which was 2 garbage bags full of clothes. Took me down to my dad's house, my real dad's house, my father's house, and dropped me off. And by God, I tell you what, this guy was the coolest dude ever. I mean, the very first night that I remember we had a bonfire, and he says, hey, you know, your mom's this, and we were young and dumb and blah, 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 right? He said, we had a bonfire, man. This is in the woods. And it was crazy. And he says, you want some Jack Daniels? I said, what? You gonna let me drink? I'm 15 years old. Sure, run it. You know, and he's just like, yo, you can party, you can have girlfriends. There wasn't very much rules or restrictions or regulation. It was just like, basically, do whatever you want to do. When I do talk, listen to what I tell you to do, and let's just have fun, you know. And I didn't want to go back to my mom's house at that point. But granted, like, my mom realized, like, I wasn't come crawling back to her, and she came back and forced me to go back with her through the legal route and said, look, I have custody of you. You have to come back with me. If you don't come back, then I'm going to report you as kidnapped or runaway or whatever. And it was crazy. But for me, it was just sitting there and saying, okay, hey, that made me even worse. So it taught me so many lessons as a dad, and said, I'm not going to be able to control my kids through fear. I'm watching this in real time with Eli, his father's biological father. Let me put this out there. I'm not here to get on this channel and make it about people, but I am here to teach all you dads out there going through things that there's real life situations that are going on here that I'm going to use to mentor other dads out there, other men out there, whether you're a biological father, whether you're a stepdad, adopted dad, or in a dad role model position, your male figure in someone's life that is being that person for them. This video, this channel is for you. And I want to make sure that's clear and concise, that these kids are the most important things out there, because they are our future. They are our future, our sons, our daughters, our leaders of the next generation. And if we don't do it right with our kids in our home, we're not going to have a good future for the rest of us. We're not going to have a successful country. We're not going to have a successful grandkids or an economy, because these kids are the ones that are going to be taken over. So it all starts with how we are today and undoing the things that we've been through in our past, forgiving, evolving as dads, and sitting there saying, hey, number one, very first episode, spend quality time with your kids. Be there with your kids. Be present. Episode number 2, lesson number 2 here. Discipline with love, not fear. Set healthy boundaries. Have the consequences meet the mistake or the crime, as they say. The punishment has to fit the crime, as they say in legal aspects. So meaning this, I had a situation where the kids were watching TV. They didn't complete their chores. So the first time I gently reminded them, said, hey, you need to complete your chores before we watch TV. That's part of the rules here. If this happens again, then we're going to lose TV time, right? It fit. That consequence fit. I communicated the consequences ahead of time. It happened again, of course, as it always does, because we make mistakes and we kind of lollygag or get caught off guard, or we kind of get complacent. You know, they got complacent. And then here they are. I walked by one time a couple of days later after I issued out what the expectations are. Our expectation is to come home, you know, do your chores, Complete your homeworks, shower, relax, and then at that point, once all that's done and you eat dinner and you're good to go, then you can watch TV, get screen time, whatever it may be. But that doesn't happen until all the other things are done. Our responsibilities are done, right? Work hard, play hard mentality. So I tell them that and come through one, and no, homework wasn't done. Okay, well, we don't let the TV distract us until we get the homework done. Once the homework done, then we can finally kick back and relax. And because of our responsibilities as a person, which is what our job is to teach our kids how to be responsible little people so they can be responsible big people. So anyways, that was an example. And sure enough, a couple of days later, they happened. So what they do, they lost TV privileges for a couple of days until when that time came back around, when they lost that privilege, then they're like, dang, okay, I'm got all my chores done, my homework's done, all the things are done. Now they're sitting there. I said, okay, great, go read a book. You know, you can go outside, you can go play outside, you can do whatever. You just can't watch TV because the TV was a distracting mechanism from you neglecting your responsibilities to yourself. The homework isn't going to impact me. I'm not going to fail the grades. I'm not going to get a bad score on the test because it's not my test, it's their test. So that was important. But anyways, look, guys, I appreciate you. Stay tuned for lesson number 3, rolling into the 3rd video. I am working on a book right now as well. Duty of Dad is going to have a book to back it. So I appreciate you guys. If you guys like what I'm going through with you guys, please leave it in the comment below. Comment and let me know what your discipline tactics are. Let me know how you discipline your kids for sure. Don't forget to like, subscribe. And please share this with one of the other dads out there, man. We got to build this community. All right, guys. So next time, Danny Savage.